All right, welcome everyone to Over and Back. I am joined with a special guest, Oregon high school head coach, Chris Siebert. Chris, how you doing?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is the first time that Chris and I actually met over. We met over Twitter.
Well, we met over a beef that I'm excited to settle tonight.
It's not even
Yeah.
a beef. It's not. All right. So we met over Twitter. When I asked for coaches, you were the first one that chimed in. We're going to take a quick tangent though, because something just happened in the sports world that I think is notable, and that I love this kid. I know you love him too, from what I was just told. Con Knippel just committed to Duke.
No way. Did he actually?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Oh, no way.
Yeah. That's what I thought maybe you'd know, because I figured you'd be on social media of some sort.
No, I missed it. No, it's funny. I talked about our beef. I actually started listening to your podcast originally because you tweeted years ago about Max Weisbrod winning the WSN Best Point Guard Award.
Yeah.
You thought undeserved.
It's completely undeserved.
So I was like, man, I hate this guy. So I'm going to listen to his podcast.
Is that really how you start? You actually hated me?
Yeah. Yeah. So first podcast I listened to, you start talking about how efficient Con Knippel is and how he makes the right play and how he makes the right decision. I'm like, I love this guy. Like, he's talking about the right things. He's looking at basketball no, Con, I think very high. I mean, obviously, he's as good as anybody that we've had in the state of Wisconsin. We're lucky to watch him play. He cares about all the right things. He's everything that you want the best player in the state to be about. Can't wait to watch what he does this senior year. And I'm happy to see that Wisco and Pewaukee are in opposite sectionals as well, which I know that you care about as well. So
we'll talk about sectionals at some point. So I was hoping to get a little bit. I was trying to get Con on the unintentional to announce it here live if he would. It's not a Con thing to do. You know what I mean?
No way. Yeah.
And I've known Con since he was like 7 or 8. And I've known the family for a while. I'm friends with obviously his uncle Jeff. And I was talking to Con's mom Sherry, and I'm just like, the most Con thing to do would be, because he's never posted anything on social media. No posts on Instagram, no posts on Twitter. The most Con thing would be to post it there and just leave it. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Like first ever tweet, first ever post was that. So it's Con doesn't give a crap about that stuff.
No, he doesn't. Well, he does care a lot about closed gyms league championships. Been playing in that league for about 10 years. It's like
you do play in that?
Like the love of my life. It's what keeps me young.
I didn't know you played that.
Con, we've had high school kids play over the years, fizzle in and out, all sorts of them. None of them really, old man strength and experience wins out. But Con 2's been the best player in that league since he's been 15.
That's crazy.
And it's crazy. Actually, I'm on Con Dad's team for the first time ever this session, which has been really good time. We got to play Con 2's team last night, and he was not there, so I knew something. It's a big week.
Well, I know he had tweaked his ankle. I think, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? He had tweaked it. So I don't know if that's why he didn't play. Because when he went on these visits to, he played in his Alabama visit, and then he didn't play at the Virginia one or the Duke one because of his ankle, I guess. It wasn't bad, but
well, I suppose it's hard to turn down Duke. I mean.
All right. So as we're
the NBA.
As we're talking, I was trying to find the tweet that I made about Weisbrod. I found it.
Did you? Yeah. I love this.
So the tweet was, so Miller announced, and I tweeted, "Congrats to Weisbrod, who is an incredible player, but this makes absolutely zero sense."
Is there a response from, are you able to see the responses on there?
Yeah, that one's from Wisconsin Swing.
Wisconsin Swing's main account. What's it say? That he won the Holy Cross Championship?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're arguing two different things. Okay, let's rewind. We'll get to Weisbrod here. Let's rewind.
Okay.
Let's start with, since you're the guest, we have to start with you. And I don't know. This is what I love about this. Someone was asking me, maybe it was one of my kids I was talking about. So when I talked to Kinzinger last week, I know all the answers for the most part when I asked Johnny stuff, and some stuff I didn't. And with you, I'm like, I don't even want to do a lot of research because I don't know. if I know stuff, I'll tune out because I'm like, oh, I know this. I'm waiting for the next question. And I don't know how, I know very, very little about you. Kellett's told me a few things, but I've probably forgotten half of them. So I don't know any of this stuff. So it'll flow with a normal conversation of questions. So start with your background, like playing, high school, whatever, to college, and then obviously how you got to where you are now.
Very average player that loved the game. You know, I like to say that I played in a way that people thought I would maybe be a coach one day, and I interacted with people in that way. I was fortunate enough as a player to have every single role that a team could have. I was the best player on a team. I was the young kid trying to earn minutes. I was the kid trying to fight his way into a starting lineup. I was the worst player on a team that was just lucky to be there. And I'm thankful for every single one of those experiences. I guess starting in high school, Baraboo High School, really loved my high school experience, loved high school basketball. Played for a longtime high school coach named Tom Steinhorst. He won 200 plus 300, maybe he'll be mad at me if I missay it, but I think it's just over 200 games. But really great coach, really thankful for everything he did. My class was really talented, best friends for everyone we played with, but unfortunately Division I at the time, when there was four divisions, we lost to Madison Memorial 3 out of the 4 years. Our senior year, lost them in a sectional game by 20 whatever, and they went on to win the state championship game. Actually, my favorite moment of that game was like, we're down, they come out, sectional game, exactly when the game's going to start. This is a Madison Memorial team that has like Jerron Mayman, Vander Blue,
I was going to say, so what year is this?
Trey Kramer, Xavier Jones, 2009.
Okay.
So they're 5 Division I guys, 2 to 3 Division III guys, college football guys. Just an awesome team. And a sectional game, exactly when everything's going to start, everything. And warm-up start, and they didn't even take the floor, which was like one of like the most like, they come out 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, and it's like almost getting in your head. You got a packed gym, a sectional gym, and there's no one, and you're the only team out there just doing layup lines by yourself.
Right.
Come out, they go up 14-0, and then we go to the line, we make one free throw, and we make one free throw to make it 14-1. And their student section just goes insane. It was one of my favorite moments in a high school gym ever. Their student section just cheering us on for scoring our first point to go down 14-1. Game was over right away when Vanderblue jumped over a guy on our team for a big lob. That was a good time. But a lot of memories playing basketball with your best friends, good teams. I think our claim to fame of our high school team is we started the year 16-0. We were ranked top 5 in the state of Division I at Baraboo, and our high school classmates and I say we're the worst team that's ever ranked in the top 5 of the state Division I. But we won a lot of close games. We were a tough group of kids that competed and got the most out of ourselves for sure. College, then played at Lawrence. The day I visited Lawrence, they were ranked number 1 in the country, Division III, and was blown away by everything that was going on. They had some of the best Division III Ryan Kreger. I remember watching Ryan Kreger practice. It was just after the Chris Breyer run, but Ryan Kreger and Doug Caddison, Ben Rosenblatt, Andy Hurley, watching that team practice, thinking like, this is everything I wanted out of my college experience. And really thankful for the 4 years I got there playing under Joel DePoctor and some lifelong friends. We didn't have all the success on the court that we would have loved, but we have a group chat that has, if you don't check your phone during the day, you're gonna have 100 text messages at the end of the day, every single day, still 10 years later. So those are what we really care about, is 10, 15 guys that are lifelong friends, no matter what. Going to a wedding actually tomorrow night of a college teammate. So that's what it's all about. And thankful that everything Lawrence gave me. And thankful for everything that I learned about basketball there as well, because I wouldn't be the coach that I am without Lawrence experience. Kind of the I would call myself out of the Depactor tree of motion, Tharp tree, and motion man-to-man defense. And then from Lawrence tried to play basketball after, but realized how athletic those guys are. Got a real job, worked a real job for a little bit before turning into a volunteer assistant role, realized how much I loved coaching. And, 5 years later, here I am.
So how long you been in Oregon?
This is 5. So no, I've just finished 5.
Okay.
Just finished 5. This will be year 6.
Stupid question. Oregon.
Yeah, great question. Actually, it's Oregon, village of Oregon,
Right.
state of Oregon.
So how close are you guys to Madison?
10 minutes, 5-10 minutes from the southern border. First southern suburb of Madison.
And you're D2 now, right?
D1 actually.
You are.
Which has
last
been,
year too? Oh,
we were. Yeah, we were last year. Which has been great for us. And it's been great with actually kind of the natural progression of our program and kind of what we took over and kind of what has kind of been happening. Great kids when we came in, love every team that we've had. But there was a talent build that kind of went on, and 2 years ago had a really, really good team, best offensive team we've been a part of, and had some kids that just really understood how to play together and went to sectional final Division II. And then got just destroyed by Jack Rose's Westosha team.
Yep.
And then last year moved up to Division I, which we now are really happy about. We have every resource and student available that we need to be Division I and compete at Division I. But just last year, I don't know if we weren't necessarily ready, and I felt bad for that senior class in the sense that I really loved that senior class. They were a really competitive group, but everything, like your non-conference schedule, and I know that we were going to talk about that, but everything was built for a Division II run, and it was almost like you finish your season and then are not, we were all prepared. We weren't prepared to play for a team like we had to play in the first round.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're reshaping this year.
Who'd you guys lose to again?
Brookfield East.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Really good team. We were actually the team that we got a 4 seed in a really tough sectional when we were, honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, we were expecting like the 9 or 10. We were hoping for an 8 to get a home game.
And East was I thought like their best player all year too, which is why they had such a low seed.
They were, but our sectional was so good last year. It was so unbelievably good that honestly, in the back of our mind, we were thinking we were going to play, a Wanakee, a Madison La Follette. So playing Brookfield East, it wasn't like we played a team that was better than we were expecting to play. It was more just like we got grace with this great number 4 seed, but we still felt that we were playing the best team that we faced the entire season.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just bringing up the notes that I sent you. So, we'll bounce around obviously from the agenda I sent you. Didn't want to cut you off, but did you ever play with those Lawrence guys at Holy Cross? Because that's like that group of guys, right?
Yeah, for sure. I did not play with them. We've played in closed gyms forever. My senior year, they asked me to play. I think or something, or there was one year they asked me to play, but I was like, it's always conflicts with the spring break week for college kids.
Yeah.
So I missed the first time, and then the next year, league gave me the chance to be a GM, and I couldn't turn that down.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. So to get back, okay, so let's just tackle this Wisebroad thing real quick, since that's how this whole thing started.
That was the birth of my fanhood and the unintentional.
So Wisebroad wins. Do you really think Wisebroad was the best point guard in the state of Wisconsin in 2022?
I mean, I got to look it up better.
Who was Mr. Basketball in 2022?
Did Pav win it?
No.
Or did Rhodey win it?
No.
Who won it? Mello Trimble?
Trimble, yeah.
That Trimble win it?
Who is a point guard. So
yeah, he's a point guard.
That was why I said it. It was more of it was not a rip on Wisebroad. I love Wisebroad. Like, I watched him at Holy Cross. I'm like, holy shit, this kid's fucking good. He's really good. He's not Seth Trimble. And
for sure.
I was ripping on the award itself. Those awards every year
Yeah,
from that outlet are like,
guess,
it's a joke. Like,
I guess,
how's Weisbrod the point guard of the year when Mr. Basketball was a point guard?
no, I guess that's a good point. Well, is there a best floor general award and the
You can
best
make one.
point
They
guard?
don't have one, but although they have so many
I
random
think
ones,
I think they might have both of them. I guess no, Max, my guy, honestly. Think the world of him, and not so shocked that he was. I think he might have won newcomer of the year last year in his league.
Yeah, I think he was freshman of the year. Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
He's so good.
he is so good.
He's so good, and his game translates to every single level. So I won't. You can't catch me saying a bad thing about him. But at the same time, I don't think he wants any part of a Seth Trimble matchup either.
No, why would you?
The
So what's
best
your
part is I think he knows it too.
Yeah, what's your background with Max?
Really close with his dad. Played high school basketball against his dad.
Okay.
And just like taught, 8 games against his dad through 4 years of high school. And then my high school coach was like really looked up to his dad, who was the head coach at DeForest for a long time. And then when I got hired at Oregon, his dad was just always a good, mentor, role model, person, soundboard guy. And then just lucky enough to coach him for 3 years of AAU. And one of those kids obviously you've seen countless kids go, but Max is one of the kids that really stands out that you really watched grow. Like when he was a 15-year-old, I want to say, like, I even want to call him slow and like really hard on his teammates to a point where like his teammates didn't really like him at times, like kind of a dick to the point of a leader. And then he kind of learned how to play and learned how to win. And then his sophomore year put on a huge playoff run. And then the COVID year, that was COVID. I mean, he led a team on to sectionals, as a sophomore. And then COVID hit, so he doesn't get to play that year. He might have taken that team to state too.
Yeah.
And that team changed a lot about him as a leader and as a player, and just how confident he was as a competitor. I mean, he went from, he would have moments where his teammates thought he was a dick to now his teammates love playing with him, and every single opponent thinks he's a dick, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. Yep.
Like one of my favorite Max Weisbrod stories is his 16U year of AAU. Big tournament in Fort Wayne. It's that run and slam that used to be at Speece Forever.
Okay.
So it's pool play to bracket play, and they have it set up with like super pools and pools down below or whatever. And Max wins his team. Good team. He's on a really good team. He's got a bunch of players. I don't want this all to be about Max, because there's a lot of good players that were around, but they win their pool. And then, they're playing the first round of the bracket play, and in bracket play, they had to play against a team that was from the Super Pool. And that team was Team Focus from Indiana that actually had Connor Esigian on it.
Okay.
And Esigian's AAU coach was a guy named Casey Adams. I don't know if anyone's listening to this. You've seen all sorts of AAU coaches, but he gets on people, and I'll never forget that game. He got on those guys so hard to the point where like I didn't know what level of players I'm watching. It was insane, but at the same time, very good coach. And anyway, we get like a 5-10 point lead in the second half, and Max, like right in front of our bench, just goes up right up to Connor Esigian and goes, "You guys are in the Super Pool, huh?" and it was just, and that was one of those moments where Max went from I'm a harsh leader to like I am just a tough competitor that just kind of refuses to lose at any time. And then just over the next couple of years, his maturity just really changed, and just both, the way he competes and the way he just like dominates a game. He just constantly makes the right play, makes the right decision. He can make shots and guard 1 through 5. It's
Yeah.
hard to.
I mean, I didn't know about him until because he took that DeForest team to the semis in state when we played him because they got bumped up to D1.
Yep.
For that year that obviously all the Madison teams were out of it, whatever. So we played them in the semis, and that was like the first time I kind of like watched him actually like play. It's good. He's a good player. I'm excited to see where, you see how great he was his freshman year of college. You just wonder like what's next, like these guys, everyone forgets, I think, maybe not everyone, but like people forget that like these kids are like 18, 19, and then like your prime of basketball is like your late 20s. Like he's so far away from his prime already, even. And it's like, It's just these kids keep making leaps. And like, I think people just forget like that's what's supposed to happen. You just never know what's going to happen after high school,
Totally. He's got more leaps to go. I think I can't begin to explain how much he loves basketball. So he'll keep working at it.
Yeah. So what's your AAU coaching background? I know a little bit of it, but
all over, honestly. Played with a really good swing team. Really thankful for that experience. That experience kind of shaped me wanting to do it. Around really good players and around players that genuinely liked each other and were around and together for multiple years. Josh Gasser, Kyle Kelm, Ben Avercamp, were some of our Chip Rank, Marquise Mason, but then really close buddies, lifelong friends with Garrett Schwartz, married my cousin. Derek Brott. We had all sorts of guys really close. Eric Bryson, lifelong friend that won a D3 national championship. Just tons of good people. Then coached with the swing my senior year of high school, coached a 12U team. Trying to think if there are any name. Seth Gunnelson, I believe was his name. Was a kid from Germantown, and a kid named Tyler Barrett actually played at UW Milwaukee and Bemidji State.
okay.
That was in sixth grade, the sixth grade team. And then through college, kind of helped Kellett with like those playground teams and a couple Blizzard teams. And then after college, back with the swing for 5 or so years, and then a couple years with the playground youth teams.
Okay. So when did you coach the 3 North kids?
Last two years of their 7th and 8th grade year. And they, those guys know how to play.
Yeah. I'm excited for them this year.
Those guys know how to play. They're going to be a fun team to watch. I was going to ask you, am I allowed to, what's the FVA? Is the FVA? Can we ask questions here?
You can ask. This is the most transparent podcast ever. You can ask. I was going to say this before, like when you talk about Wise Broad, and I always try to be as transparent as possible. Like if I have connections to people and I like people, and I'll admit that's why I like people. It's why why I hate people. So I don't like.
That's why high school media is tough, because I couldn't rank Max, honestly, because you don't know why. I feel like anything I do that's like negatively, negative, like I get a lot of the Nina stuff is just out of proportion, but like I will always back it up with facts. And if I don't, then I'll be like, well, it's because I know the family or like something like that. You know what I mean? So what's the inspiration behind Spread and Bread? Is it gambling related?
Yeah. So me and my buddy, John Conlon, started a podcast in like 2018 called Spread and Bread. And we would just go over NFL lines and pick and just talk football. He would actually come over to my house and we would sit in my studio / office right here and we would record, one of us would bring a bottle of wine and we would have like a wine of the podcast, whatever. We would talk about the wine and then we would go over games and things like that. And then COVID. So we did that for like 2 years. COVID hit. At some point it just started getting like just further away. Yep. So the reason like my Twitter handle is at Spread and Bread, because it started there and the unintentional is one character too long. So I can't even have it. And someone has unintentional.
I gotcha.
So that's why. That's where Spread and Bread came from, yeah.
So if Spread and Bread, where would your future be in the FVA this year?
Where would my future be? What do you mean?
Yeah, if you had a future bet on the FVA.
Oh, or my future bet, I would probably put it on Kakana.
Kakana?
It terrifies me to say that. But the next choice would be probably Oshkosh North, and that terrifies me even more.
Appleton North is going to scare people this year.
Don't say that. Kellett's gonna get mad at you. He does not like that. I told him I
Yeah.
was gonna pick him number one, and he got so pissed at me.
Kellett, on the same podcast last year said you could argue we had the least amount of talent in the FVA,
Yeah,
and we sped things up and played faster than we ever had based on the amount of talent we had
yeah.
last year.
He's
So I don't worry about Kellett's thoughts on his North squad.
Oh yeah, no, he always downplays them. I'm. They're gonna have a little bit more size than they first thought, but they still lack a ton of size. But they're talented as hell and they can shoot, and they're gonna go through their struggles like they did last year, but it'll be less struggles because they're a year more experienced.
I mean, that's the fun thing about the FVA is you can win. You don't have to go 16-2 to win the league.
Well, I mean, sometimes you do. Like 2 years ago, you needed to, but yeah,
sometimes you do, but
not anymore. Not this. I mean, I've always said that it was such a drop off from the class of 22. That class was so loaded, basketball wise. It's incredible. I just think Kakana, you got a future. You're gonna put North. I don't have odds, I guess, but
yeah, well, I'd like to see, I'd like to see odds for, of course, just t-shirts or something, but
do you get to watch much FEA? I mean, obviously because you're your own conference, but
I love watching high school basketball. I mean,
yeah.
I watch more high school and D3 basketball than most people should. So I watch as much high school as I can. So I love watching FVA games. So there's certain teams you like what you end up watching a lot of.
Yeah, it's tough. People always ask me like, what games are you gonna go to? And I'm like, it's honestly easy for me to go downstairs in my basement and have like a game on a TV, a game on another TV, and like 2 games on my computer, and I can actually like kind of watch them all instead of just going to one game and missing everything.
YouTube's definitely changed the game. I mean, I definitely watch more of our league and our sectional, but you're gonna be mad at me, but I've watched a lot of Nina in the last few years. When they're good, they're good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've obviously have a love hate with Nina. Not much of a love, I guess, but my son Jameson was part of that Kimberly team that lost to them on the buzzer. So it's
yeah. So that game, when that's one of the craziest games. I wish I was at that game when Pav got, what is it, in overtime, when he like got fouled, but it was kind of on the ground, but he kind of played through it, but he missed.
So that was the second time we played him. So that was at our place, second time later in the season. I don't think it was in overtime. He just, he had a wide open break and JJ Piter grabbed him and the ref didn't call anything.
That was such a good basketball game though.
Yeah. Oh, it was overtime. It was overtime. That's right. It was overtime. Yep. You're right.
That was such a good basketball game.
It was.
That also Coach Murphy, that was a good full court play with 5 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, he should have been shooting.
Best guy on the run.
He probably should have made the layup, but he should have been shooting free throws for sure.
Yeah. I think so too.
All right. Who's the let's see, just let you know. We got 10 minutes left. Just let you know.
Oh geez.
Well, and then we'll go to the next. Then we'll go to part 2.
Okay.
So we got plenty. Just 10 minutes left for this first 40 minutes. Per
Time flies.
It does, I know. Who's the toughest player you've ever coached against in high school? Let's take AAU out of it because there's probably games that we don't even know. But like in high school, state of Wisconsin, over the last 5 years.
I mean, we talked about Max for a while. Played him in a sectional game that was he was really tough to prepare for, obviously, because just of how good of decisions he made, in the sense that like anything he really tried to do, he made the right play. The hardest guys for us to prepare for, we always say, are the guys that like actually make the right pass. Like you talk about with Con too, it's like he's so efficient, but if you do too much to him, he makes the right pass. In the first few, I mean, Jack Rose was a really good scorer and could like really make tough shots. We had one of the best defenders, probably the best individual defender I've ever coached that year. And he didn't need a ton of help guarding a lot of people. But Jack Rose, every time he'd play perfect defense, he would make that shot anyway. But as far as like making the right pass and making the right play and like really hard to guard, like got their teams good looks every time. The first 2 guys that really come to mind are Wisebro and Jack Campion.
Oh, I love Jack. Well, Jack played on my unintentional team 2 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, competitor, first of all, like like you felt his swagger and his tone the minute you walked in the gym, the minute he walked in the gym.
Yep.
And in high school basketball, he just had such a big impact on every single game he played in. Whether he was scoring or whether he was not. We actually changed the kind of the way we played him throughout my years. First few years we tried to gap him really hard and stop him, and like do everything we could to stop him, but he still like kind of had his way.
Yeah.
The last few we said we're just going to face guard your best shooters and just make you pass to any pass you throw is going to be to people that we want you to pass to.
Yeah.
And we just refused to get into any running match with them. And it was a hard matchup for us too, because we were a team that played as fast. We're looking to play as fast as anybody. We're looking to run on any opportunity, but when we were playing Jack, we were much more selective than we were against anybody else. So he made us change the way we play more than anybody, the way we've ever played.
Yeah, I love his game. I even know it's something about like those like kind of like smaller type guards that like people just think, well, they're too small, whatever. And he is as quick and fast as I've ever seen on a basketball court. It's unbelievable.
Totally. I mean, yeah, end line to end line as fast as anybody, but also like he's just, I know you want to call him small, but he's so tough. Like you
Oh,
can't,
right. I'm just saying he is.
like,
I mean, he's a shorter kid, right? I mean, he's not like
he's short.
You know?
He's short, but like, message to any small guards and
Yeah.
anybody listening to this podcast, if you don't want to be a small guard, don't get bullied going to the basket. And like I've never seen Jack Campion give up an easy basket in the lane.
Yeah.
He's like, and to me, you're not a small guard if people don't score on you in the lane. And that was what he was just so competitive defensively.
Okay. What's the farthest? I'm just trying to go get more history on your like coaching at Oregon. What's the farthest you guys have ever gotten in the playoffs?
Sectional final. We went to the sectional final 2 years ago, Division II, and lost that really good Westosha team.
Okay. I wasn't sure the years. I know you had mentioned that, but I wasn't sure
we had a good group. Casey Scheneker's at Lawrence now. He's a freshman at Lawrence. Ryan Panzer and Deacon Bush and Jackson Brockman are really, really good high school players. All like they were seniors that year. I mean, typical really good high school class that were really close kids that were everything a high school coach could want their kids to be about.
Yeah.
And then Evan Miles was a junior and he just won our conference player of the year last year. So it was like a really good group really good group. They won like 23 games, but then just that Westosha was huge for us. And just played a little bit of a different style that we weren't used to and kind of went on a little run that put the game away from us.
Okay. Let's stick with playoffs. So you mentioned right away about sectional stuff. Let's just get into the sectional stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know why they announced it in June? Do you have any idea why they announced this shit in June?
Yeah.
It's a full year in advance.
I'm with you. That's one of the pains to me. I don't want to make this in like too much of a complaint podcast, but I think that one of my biggest gripes is like, there's all this hate. And I know I'm probably not the one to speak on this since like a lot of people that were complaining about our seed, but I would just say that our sectional last year had 13 teams that were awesome. And it didn't matter what we were seeded. We were going to play a really good team no matter what.
Right.
The 13 team we played, Brookfield East beat Sussex Hamilton round 2, who was ranked whatever in the state. Sussex, I think, was ranked 4th in the state when our bracket came out and they got the 5 seed.
Yeah.
But I think that honestly, like the computer seeding aside, I think that the sectional misbalance is a bigger issue.
And that's that's what I'm talking about. Like,
totally.
Like, yeah. So, well, first of all, I guess there's parts to it. Why do they, well, I don't know why they announced it so early, I guess, but
yeah,
but the balance is, I guess, the main issue. Aside from just not doing it that way, do you have a fix? I mean, just give me I guess you can just give me your thoughts on it.
I mean, I've heard all sorts of options. I mean, what I really wish is that they would seed the whole state one through whatever, but I know that I'm never going to win that argument. Yeah. So the arguments that I've heard that I do like are like the splitting the top 16 seeds or whatever at a certain time. So you split the top 4 a certain direction. 1 goes with 16, 2 goes with 15, and then like you work it all out that way. I love the even
I mean, countless coaches think two big major sectionals with two teams from, or whatever teams from each one go to state.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of options to like just make it more even. And if the sectionals are balanced out more even, to me, and maybe I'm saying the wrong thing, it doesn't matter what you're seeded. Your resume is going to speak for itself. You're going to be seated relatively close. Everybody just doesn't want to play a game that they think is unfair. And like Pewaukee, Wisco, or for example, or, our D1 sectional last year, we thought, there was 13 teams that could argue they were top 20 Division I teams in the state at certain points. And I think this year there's one sectional again that looks that way. And one thing I will say, I get what you're saying about that. Why do they put them out so early? But if they do, it also isn't that difficult to predict. If they did put it out early, like,
sure, correct. Yes.
And there are people that have offered like, oh, I would love to help, or I would love to help. I don't know what the perfect like answer to that is, like who is unbiased, but just to me, it shouldn't be as difficult as it is to predict who's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, I see, I'm looking at it now. I mean, a bunch of teams flopped from like 1 to 2, but Arrowhead's now with De Pere.
Yeah. And to be honest, how many teams do you really need to separate?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to separate 20. You need to separate 5 and make sure you don't have, it doesn't have to be crystal clear perfect. March Madness is the greatest sporting event in the world.
Right.
And part of what makes March Madness great is people debating about the seeds. And we have bubble talk in March Madness for 2 months. So this bracket is never going to be perfect, but there are things we could do to increase competitive balance. And I think that sectional equity is probably number 1 on that list.
Well, if you look at last year, you brought up the whole, like, if you just did like two sides or 2 pods, whatever, if you combine 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it would have been almost perfect. Yeah. If you just would have had it made big seeds over here, big seed, 1 through whatever it is on both sides, that would have balanced it completely, because 2 was loaded and 3 was loaded, and then 1 and 4 were just like not good, not really good at all. Like they were just.
And honestly, I'd love it. Someone smarter than me figuring out, if we were to seed last year 1 through whatever 40 of those 2 brackets, how much does it change the travel? To me, I really don't think it'd be changing it that much.
Yeah. All right, we got to end here. We're under a minute, so I don't want to get cut off. So, all right, we're gonna come back with part 2 and over and back. How about? Yeah.